Welcome, everyone. This is Luis Vasquez with Dream Big. We're delighted to have you be a part of Dream Big today and to learn about proposal writing from none other than Lisa Rehurick. Lisa is an award-winning proposal writing expert. She is an author, she is a speaker, and she knows how to make proposal writing fun. So we also want to remind you that Dream Big is coming up on June 18th at La Plaza de Cultura y Artes in downtown Los Angeles. It is one of LA's most stunning venues. We'll kick off with a catered Pest Cantina breakfast. We'll roll into our town hall with some C-level speakers. And then once again, you'll have an opportunity to meet Lisa, bring your questions so that you can learn more about proposal writing. This session has been brought to you by Univision here in Los Angeles, the Port of Long Beach, McCarthy Builders, Slauson, Vermont Slauson Economic Development Corporation, the Latino Media Collaborative, the Construction Contractors Alliance, and we're proud to have Bank of America on board. Without more commercials, let me turn it over to Lisa so that we can get going on how to win some work. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Luis. It's so great to be here. I always love talking about RFPs. I know it's a dry subject, but we're going to try to make it fun and interesting and get you all some really great foundation for which to build your RFP strategy and get more wins. So, Luis did a great job of introducing me, but I want to just tell you a little bit of my background story and why I am so obsessed with making sure that we provide tools and resources for businesses to be able to respond to RFPs, and particularly small businesses. I'm a small business. I am passionate about helping other small businesses get a seat at the table for these big government contracts or even private contracts. So, just a little background on me. I started in the hospitality industry many, many moons ago. I stopped counting, it's that long ago. And I did RFPs in the hospitality space. I worked in hotels, and they were really simple. What's your rate? What's your, do you have availability on these dates? And share with us some of your amenities. So fast forward, I go to work for a global consulting firm that had a specialty practice that did Medicaid actuarial rate setting. That's a mouthful. At the time, it was way over my head. I didn't even know the difference between Medicaid and Medicare, to be honest with you, way back then. And so when they came to me and said, "Hey, we hear you have RFP experience. Can you help us?" I was all like, I puffed my chest. I was like, heck yeah, I have RFP experience. And then they came and dropped a 200-page RFP on my plate. And I was like, what the heck is this thing? It was so completely different. And I had to spend a lot of time really digging in, figuring out what I needed to do, answering the questions, making sure the requirements were met. I mean, I was focused and I was so committed to making sure that I did this right because I wanted to showcase my value. At that point, because the subject matter was so out of my wheelhouse, it just didn't feel like I was adding a whole lot of value to the company. This was my place. This was my time to shine. So we did it. I thought it was fantastic. And guess what? We lost. It was heartbreaking because I thought, "Oh my gosh, this is no longer like the value add that I was going to bring to the company." So at that point, I was like, "How did we lose? We were really the premier company to do this kind of work. I know I met all the requirements. I know that I answered all the questions." That's really when I became slightly obsessed with figuring out what it takes to win. Then fast forward to about 10 years ago when I started this company specific to RFPs. And we'd win some for our clients and we'd lose some for our clients. And I continued that obsession around what does it take for companies to win versus the companies to lose? We know we're writing a good RFP either way. Why is it not working for everybody? And that's when we came up with something called the Play to Win roadmap. Now, I'm going to show this up on screen. It might feel a little bit daunting, but don't worry, I'm going to break it down for you. So, this is what the Play to Win roadmap looks like. Now, I want you to think for a minute about a sports team. Let's talk about football. That's my favorite sport. So, a football team doesn't just show up on game day, play, and expect to win. There's a whole lot that goes on behind the scenes. There's a lot of planning, there's a lot of strategy, there's a ton of practice, there's coaching. There's all these things that are happening that are not sexy. Not everybody loves to do it. You hear stories all the time about football players being like, I'm going to go to practice. But you have to do it because that foundational piece is so important. It is no different in the world of RFPs. So if you see here, this number one is strategic foundation. That's the stuff that I'm talking about. If you don't have your strategic foundation laid, it will affect you all along the way. And we know we have a 76% win rate for our clients. And we know the ones that follow this roadmap and partner with us to follow this roadmap are the ones that get the wins. They get a lot of wins. And the ones that don't are the ones that bring that percentage down. So the four areas, like I said, first is strategic foundation. Second is your content. Obviously, that's important. It's the one that everybody focuses on. But guess what? You can't do great content unless you have the foundation built. Of course, the response team, whether that's your internal team or whether you outsource to a company like ours, it's important that that is set correctly. And then, of course, the process to make sure that you're bidding efficiently and you're not and you're following kind of all the rules, if you will. So the process is important too. We've got these four areas dialed in, you're going to be in that upper echelon of the win percentages. And why would you not want to be up there? Why? I don't understand. A lot of times people are settling for 10%, 20% win rates. That's unacceptable to me for our clients. And for you, I don't want you to spend that much time and money losing most of the time. So in today's class here, we're going to focus on that strategic foundation. It is the, again, kind of the bread and butter, and it is a huge mindset shift in hold on, I had a little pop-up come up. It's a huge mindset shift for most businesses because again, everybody wants to jump right into content. If you start thinking about that strategic foundation and the importance of it, this is an old carpenter quote. If you don't get the foundation right, it will follow you all the way to the roof. But it is absolutely in alignment with business as well. So if you're thinking, I don't want to do strategy, Lisa, that's your choice, right? You get to go off and have the 5, 10, 15% win rates. If you want to spend less time and less money and really get those high percentages, then you got to have the strategy. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So when we look at that strategic foundation, here's what it does for you. Long-term time savings. I can't tell you how much time people waste on responding to RFPs. And if you've done an RFP, you know they're hard. They take a lot of time. They're a pain in the butt. I get all of that. The strategy is going to make it easier for you. Just efficiency in the response process, whether it's just you doing it or you've got team members, the you want efficiency because you all have other jobs to do, right? This is, you're not just sitting around waiting for RFPs to come across your plate. It's going to lead to better evaluation scores, which of course leads to those higher win rates. And it also leads to team satisfaction. After a while, again, whether you've got other people on your team or if it's just you, man, it's hard to keep losing. It's hard to go in hard on these RFP responses and continuously lose one after the other after the other. It takes a toll on your team members' morale, their satisfaction, and even on your own. So today, what we're going to specifically talk about is aligning that RFP strategy to your business goals. We're going to talk about your high value client and why that matters. What is it and why does that matter? We're going to talk about how you can research your market and your competition, and we're going to talk about how you can do all of that using AI. And then I got a little challenge for you at the end for those of you that are coming to Dream Big Live. Hopefully, it's all of you. And we want to make sure that uh, you kind of tie this in. So I've got a little challenge for everybody at the very end. So we're diving in with aligning RFP strategy with business goals. What does this even mean? So generally, all of us have business goals of some sort. Hopefully you do. If not, you need to have them. And they fall into general categories like financial, customer related, internal culture, market, market related, strategic, social and environmental. So, things like financial goals like revenue growth, market share, on the market related internal culture. For us, just an example on that internal culture is we have a lot of late nights, a lot of weekends, that our team has to work hard on these RFP responses, and then we give them flex time. That's part of our culture, and it's important to know that because that's how we can understand if we're meeting our business goals overall. So those are some of the business categories. Why is this important, Lisa? Why? Well, the importance in making sure that you've got your business goals set and you have this RFP strategy. The importance of aligning those is number one, understanding how to deploy your RFP resources. Y'all are small businesses. I'm a small business. We don't have endless resources. You don't have dedicated proposal teams. You've got to know who and how you can deploy resources. If you're going to outsource it to a firm like ours, you've got to know what kind of investment you're willing to do and what you need there. So you've got to understand how that ties into your overall business goals. Your win percentage is important because if you say, we're going to grow our revenue by X percentage, right? And 50% of that is going to be through RFPs because we know it's going to be government work. So we know it's going to be through RFPs. How many RFPs do you need to bid on in order to hit that goal? And let me tell you, the answer isn't as many as we can find. And that is the number one answer we get from our clients when we ask them that question. As many as we can bid on, as many as we can find. That is not the right solution. So you need to understand how many you need to win to hit a financial goal and then reverse engineer from there. And then also what kind of a cost do you have? What kind of budget, I guess I should say, do you have associated with responding to RFPs? Because internally you're going to have something and externally you might have a budget. So let's dive deeper into each one of those. Deploying resources is things like how efficient can they be? How much time do they have? What budget do they have? What kind of RFP response expertise do they have? And I'm going to tell you right now, people think, oh, we've just got somebody that's really good at managing the requirements, or we've got somebody that writes pretty well, or we're going to pull a salesperson off the street. None of that is going to get you what you need. RFP management is a very specific skill. RFP writing is a very specific skill, and it's not one for the salespeople. So you want to make sure you've got the right people in the right place, and then you also want to make sure that you're not demotivating your employees. Your team morale is still pretty high. There's nothing that blows team morale more than continuously losing. I mean, it's heartbreaking for me. I know it's heartbreaking for other people, but the team it chips away at their morale. They burn out, they get frustrated, their productivity decreases, and then their heart's not in it when they're bidding. And guess what? Your product is going to showcase that. So you want to make sure that you've got all of that aligned correctly. Um, your win percentage. If you are bidding cold, what that means is you have no relationship. You just find that RFP in an aggregator somewhere. The entity hasn't asked you to bid and you have no relationship. You have less than a 5% chance to win. That's really low. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to put my eggs in a less than 5% chance basket. No bueno. So the industry average is around 38 to 40%. Better, but the solid strategy that we're talking about here is going to get you eventually into that 60% plus, and that's where you want to be. If nothing else, the average cost to respond to an RFP ranges from anywhere from $1,800, and that's a very simple RFP that is maybe just a couple of pages with maybe 8 to 10 pretty basic questions, to $30,000, no joke, for a more complex RFP. I'm not talking about costs to outsource to a company like mine. I'm talking about your cost internally on average is anywhere between 1,800 and 30,000. Even if you feel like, well, I'm just going to stay up all night and do it, it's costing you money because you could be doing something else. And also, it's probably not going to be the best response. So let's just say it's costing you 15,000 to kind of sort of split the difference, and you bid on 10 RFPs that you don't really have a good chance of winning. That's costing you $150,000 in a year. I don't know about you guys, but I don't have $150,000 laying around, right? I want to use that money somewhere else. And it costs you a lot more than just money. Some of the costs are already baked in. I get it. You've got staff, it's already baked in, but it's taking away from something else. So listen, setting your goals and your RFP strategy and understanding how those tie together is just going to make you a better business with higher win rates. And that's what I want for you. Now let's talk about AI, because I know so many of you are sitting there thinking, strategy, Lisa, I don't have time. I can barely eat breakfast because so much is going on as a business owner, right? This is why I want to share with you how to use AI to make this work for you. You need to have goals, you need to have a strategy, and this AI piece that I'm going to share with you right now assumes that you already have your goals set. If you don't, you need to set them and then come back to this. But this piece is really important. I don't want to make it hard for you. It's important, but it doesn't have to be hard. So let's talk about using AI. Here is your AI prompt. Act as a business owner who is building an RFP strategy based on your current business goals of blank. So this is where you're going to fill in your business goals, revenue goal of XYZ for RFPs, the win percentage that you want, all of that, your goals. Create a strategic RFP roadmap broken down by quarter for a 12-month period. So that's just a pretty basic prompt that's going to get you started. This is just a very small clip of what that output was when I just did it very simply, um, to get me the very basic high level. Now, one thing that I do want to say here is there's a whole lot of AI tools out there. We start losing track of them. We use Chat GPT. It's very solid. It does a lot. It's our favorite one, but there are a million of them out there. Um, I will tell you, though, it makes way more sense to do the paid version than the free version for a multitude of reasons. It's like $59 a year. This is not crazy expensive, but it just gets you a better level of information. It stores you, it starts to get to know you better. The free version doesn't do that as well. So you really want to make sure that you are, getting your biggest bang for your buck there, right? Yeah, JD said, I heard that ChatGPT is the bomb. It really is the best one that we've used. We've tried a whole bunch of different ones. We're actually building our own, and we're building it based on ChatGPT because we did all this research, and it just is the most solid one that we've found. And, there are some shortcomings. One in particular is graphics, but we just started using it more for graphics again, and it's getting a lot better. So there's a lot of good play with ChatGPT. I didn't get a commission on that. I'm just saying that's the one that we like the best. All right, so I gave you that AI prompt. Now, the thing about AI is that, it's all in the prompt, and it's all in helping the bot get to know you better. So when this popped up, this strategic roadmap for aligning it to my goals, it's good, it's fine, but I want to go even deeper. So here's the follow-up prompt that I would suggest you use. It's down here in the bottom right-hand corner. What else should I have asked you? And I kind of love this because it just comes back and it says, here are some strategic follow up questions you could ask to deepen your RFP strategy and business alignment. And then it gives you even more information. And you could even pull out one of these and say, okay, how can I analyze competitors? We're going to actually do that for first bullet under number one here in a minute. But even that second bullet, what market trends should we prioritize? This thing is it's kind of a beast. It's a little crazy how I can just say, "What should I be asking you?" And it tells me what I should ask it. And it really gives a lot of great output. So this is this is step number one to make sure that you get your business strategy. Just keep digging deeper. Most people do one level or maybe a second question. Just keep asking it questions to get clarification. And don't be afraid to say, you know what, this isn't on target at all. Let's switch this up a little bit and tell me more about X, Y, and Z. You'll get used to it the more you play with it, but it's fantastic. All right, so now you've got your RFP strategy. Now we're going to talk about your high value client. What the heck is a high value client, Lisa? Well, a high value client is a customer whose business relationship generates significant value for your organization. A lot of times as small businesses, we just say, who will hire us? Maybe it's not a conscious thought, but it is a subconscious thought. We'll take any business that we can do. We'll take any business that's willing to pay us. It's not the best strategy. The best strategy is to find those high value clients. Why? because you can then focus your resources on clients with the highest ROI. You want clients that are not going to be a drag on your profitability. Um, Looks like JD's coming back in. You don't want clients that are going to be a drag on your productivity, on your margins, on your staff, any of that. You want clients that have a nice long lifetime value. You want to be able to have clients that value you in a way. All of that helps keep morale up for yourself, but also for your team. And you want projects that your team is going to get excited about, right? That they're going to be excited to work on versus just, oh, let's just cram something in here. So here are some things to consider when you're thinking about your high value clients. Revenue and profitability, some of the things I just talked about, like, is the contract value high? Is there opportunity for additional revenue streams? How's the profitability? Um, Long-term potential, are they going to stick around for a while? Um, is there low churn risk, meaning they don't just, it's just not a project that's one and done. There's, you probably know this, there are a ton of studies out there that say it costs so much more to get a new client than to keep an existing client. So the more that you can keep these clients, but you've got to know, hey, these are the kind of clients that we want in order to make sure you get those. And then that partnership mindset, like we're in this for the long term, win-win situation for all of us. Strategic importance, maybe there's some market influence by having, let's say Google, that's great to have the Google logo. Bank of America, who just announced that they're going to be, Luis just announced that they're going to be sponsoring us, to have that logo on there that gives you some market influence. Is it in alignment with your core expertise, or are you going to have to subcontract 80% of it just to get that? Potential for expansion, some of those things. And then you want clients that are low maintenance with high engagement. I'll tell you what we had a client that we bid on a big RFP for a state, and it was a beast. And I kept telling them, you guys should not be bidding on this because you have none of this knowledge. And it was very clearly wired for somebody else. There was so much specificity to the expertise you had to have and where you could be located and all of that. We They wanted to go for it. We ended up bidding on it, and afterwards the CEO of that company said, "We should this isn't even a client we want. They're horrible to work with." And it crushed the whole team. We were like, "Then why did we just spend 12 to 14-hour days busting our butts to get this thing out the door, and you don't even want the client?" They ended up losing, thank God, because it would have been a beast of a client. But these are the things that sometimes we don't think about that we need to make sure that we're thinking about. All right, so how do you know of who your high value client is? Here is your AI prompt. Just copy this. And in this orange here, kind of hard to see, sorry about that, it says insert anything you know here. So you know that your high value clients are. So first thing you need to do is define based on that list before, like just spend some time defining who the best kind of client for you is. You drop it in here, and then it's going to provide you an output of who your high value client is. And again, you want to dig deeper into the different layers, keep asking it questions. Here's a really good secondary question. What additional information can you give me? And then have it give you some additional information. And then you might want to pull each one out and ask specifically, or say, this looks good, but points eight, one, two, and three are not relevant. Redo this. Those are the kinds of things that you want to keep playing with. I'm going to give you towards the end here, I'm going to give you a list of general, kind of like this follow up prompt that I have here, just some general follow up prompts that are going to help you even more. You just want to keep massaging and massaging. So now you know kind of how your RFP strategy aligns with your goals. You know who your high value client is and where to find them because this has helped you. And now we want to talk about researching your market and your competition. Okay. So, researching market and competition, the first thing is understanding your market. So, we will have a conversation with a potential client and we'll say, who are your target clients? Who is your high value client and where are they? And they'll just say anywhere. We can work with anybody. And while that's true, from a marketing, resource, and business goal perspective, you should have things more targeted. And the reason being is because really should be doing research. And again, I don't think anybody has endless resources to just research 50 states, the federal government, and every private entity that you might want to work with. So you've got to understand your market to understand what others are doing in their market and also to know how to address their challenges. When you know those two things, the content that we're going to talk about at the Dream Big conference live, you can't do good content if you don't have this information. You can't. I 100% guarantee you, you cannot. So you've got to do some research. And here's your prompt. Your AI prompt for the market piece of it is, we are a business that serves X, Y, and Z, whoever your market is, to help them, and then your offering. So you're going to fill in those orange spaces. Provide a market map for types of businesses or government agencies, where to reach them, what kind of messaging to gain their trust. Provide differentiation, client acquisition and outreach, and pricing and packaging information. It's a mouthful. That's a really big ask, but it comes up with a pretty decent list. This is one that you're going to have to massage and you're going to have to go layers and layers and layers. But I mean, to me, you can do this in 30 to 60 minutes. That's all it would take. Maybe not even that much. It depends on your experience with AI. But if you get in there and just start playing, it's amazing what the output's going to be for you. Then you've got to understand your competition. The only way to differentiate yourself in an RFP response, which is hugely important, we're going to talk about at the Dream Big Live event, is to know your competition. Like, how are you going to differentiate yourself if you don't know who you're competing against, right? So you've got to know that. And also, as much as you can, learn about their pricing. Sometimes that's hard, sometimes it's not. So here's your AI prompt for the competition. Using the information above, so this is assuming that you're asking this pretty much right after you've done the prompt before. Using the information above, provide a list of possible competitors, their differentiators, and their specialties and their pricing if possible. Now, again, that pricing piece is probably not going to pop up. Every once in a while, we see it pop up, but it doesn't hurt to ask, right? A follow-up question to this could be, go deeper with X, Y, and Z. So, for example, one of the competitors that comes up for us is a company called Responsive. They're a very large enterprise technology. They're not really a competitor of ours, but I asked it to go deeper because I wanted to see, is there something that I'm missing? And it went deeper just on that one particular competitor. So this is a really great way to just get started with understanding your competition and getting to know them a little bit more so you can differentiate yourself. Here's some specific AI follow-up prompts to everything that we've just talked about. How can we accurately measure the demand for our specific product or service? I'm not going to read all of these, but this is just gives you some additional follow-up prompts for all of that information that I've just given you to dig deeper, to go layers deep into it instead of just staying skin deep, which is really just that first layer of questioning. Okay, so how do we take all of this and now apply it to our RFP strategy? Here's another AI prompt for you. Taking all of the information above, put this into a strategic RFP plan that can be used to present internally to our leadership team and or guide us throughout the year. And you might have a different objective there, but it's a really great way to say, hey, give me a game plan. And then the follow-up prompt is, create an action plan for how to incorporate this information into RFP responses. What I would even do different here that I didn't add in is tell it to give it to you by quarter for the next 12 months or the next 18 months. You saw that earlier on a slide. I would do it here as well. And then it pops out a nice little action plan for you. And you can go through and edit this as you see fit. But it's really great to get you more information to say, okay, specifically, here's what we need to do. You could say that bullet number one, schedule 2 to 3 in-house workshops. No, that's not for us. We don't want to do that. You would take that out, or you can ask, you can go back to Chat GPT or AI and say, that first bullet under the first bullet doesn't really pertain to us. Is there anything else here that we need to do? So just keep asking it questions, get really curious with it. I find it to be super fun to get curious with it because it blows my mind every time I use it, the things that I can use it for. I mean, it's just amazing to me. So keep playing with it. You'll start loving it as well if you haven't already been playing with it. Here are some very general AI follow-up prompts. So, in where I showed the prompt and then in the bottom right-hand corner, I said, here's a follow-up prompt. Here's just a list of additional ones that you can use to dig deeper. We already talked about that first one. You're like, the second one, what are most common mistakes businesses make in this area? Or what assumptions might we be making that could be wrong? I love this because a lot of times we don't know what we don't know, right? And actually, this just came to me. You could even ask that, like, what might I not know that I don't know, and just see what it pops up for you. It is fascinating to see what it can do for you. And I know there's a lot of people that are afraid of AI. I will tell you, there's nothing to be afraid of. The mindset, in my opinion, around AI with RFPs is that it's not perfect yet. You can't just, please don't, because this is going to put you in the losing category. Just ask ChatGPT for, or AI for an answer and then copy and paste it and just pop out an RFP response. Buyers are really savvy to that. They'll know that all you did was use AI. But I tell you what, it saves, for what might have taken me an hour before, takes me 5 or 10 minutes now. So you want to use it in your favor, be more efficient with it, but still customize it, and make sure that you are building trust. And we're going to talk about this at the live event, about how you build trust in that RFP response. We're also going to talk about how to take everything that we've learned here and use that, leverage it into your content, because it's not 100% yet. I don't think it ever will be. There is still a human element, a human trust, a human connection that has to happen. But whoosh, for small businesses that don't have a lot of resources, it's magic. So I love, love, love that this exists now. I get so much more done. All right, so part two, we've talked about this throughout, but part two, which will be at Dream Big Live on June 18th, we're going to dive into proposal content. And again, how to leverage all of this information to create those winning proposals and get you up into those, 50, 60, 70% win rates. Because if all you do is dive into content without having strategy, you'll likely just answer the questions pretty basically. It's not going to build trust. The evaluators are going to give you, at best, average scores, and you'll likely lose. So that foundational piece, hugely important. We're going to talk about something called Dare to Stand Out. That is a proprietary process that we use for making sure that the content is where it needs to be. And when we apply that, the more competitor knowledge we have, I've said this before, the better differentiators you'll have. The better differentiators you have, the better the evaluators are going to lean in and pay attention. The more target knowledge you have, and target meaning your target market, the better you'll be able to build relationships and gather the right information that you need to make that proposal really pop. And then the more goals you have aligned with your RFP strategy, you're going to waste less time and money. And I don't know about you, but none of us have a plethora of either. So let's figure out ways to make sure that you can use those wisely. So at the live event, you're going to learn how to set your proposal apart to get those higher scores. You're going to establish your organization's credibility and expertise that skyrockets past your competitors, that really makes those evaluators lean in and be like, we want them. They're so excited they can barely even wait any longer to sign you up. That's what we want. You're going to learn how to build that trust with the evaluators, and then really tailor your responses to exceed their needs and make them, again, feel like they can't live without you. Now, at the top of the presentation, I told you that I was going to have a little challenge for you. So here's the challenge. Using the information that we've provided here, I want you to develop your alignment strategy. Now, specific to the competition, I want you to send that to me. Once you have your competitor piece done, I want you to send it to me. This is my email address, lisa@rfpsuccess.com. I'm going to randomly choose one or two and do a deeper dive at the live event to tell you how to take that even further. But we're going to show it to you kind of in real time. So that is the challenge. I'm gonna see who's willing to step up and do that challenge so that we can share that in LA in just a couple of weeks. I'm so excited, June 18th. All right, Luis, we are pretty much done here. I'm going to toss it back to you to close us out.
I have just one or two little questions before
Yes.
we close it out. One of the you have first of all brought up so uh, many important things that I haven't thought about in
Hmm.
proposal writing. So thank you so much for this learning experience.
Yes.
One of the things that that jumped out was how important is it to have your heart in the RFP process? So that's one question. How important is it to have your heart in the RFP process? The other is you talked about using AI, and a lot of it focused on research. The question is beyond research, and without just literally taking it from AI, what are the things we can use AI to help us in our proposal writing? Is it capabilities, past performance? And then the I guess the last question is, because you have also brought it up, is design. How important is the cover of your proposal? Everyone says you can't judge a book by its cover, but that's what people judge a book by its cover. So how important is the design element in your proposal writing?
Okay, so let me tackle these three questions. I'm going to start with the last one, design. If you're bidding on a government proposal, design is less important. It needs to look crisp, it needs to look clean, but they're not interested in fancy schmancy. They're interested in the content. So, but if you're doing private, it comes into play a little bit more. They are going to care a little bit more. It also depends on your industry. If you're a design professional, you probably want to put in some good design work because that's going to showcase that. If you're a consulting firm, it's not going to matter as much. If you're an architectural firm, the design's going to matter a little bit more because you're going to also have to incorporate sketches. So it really depends on the type of business you are and the entity that you're responding to. But government proposals in general, keep it clean, keep it crisp, and they almost always tell you what they want on the cover page. Don't go crazy with anything else. Give them what they want. So that's question number three. Question number two is about AI. There's so much that you can use AI for. In fact, I just came from a conference last week where they were talking about AI for different processes in their manufacturing companies. That's a little bit over past my pay grade, to be honest with you. I haven't dove into those types of things. But from a content perspective, you can use AI for a lot. And we're going to talk about that a lot more. I'm going to give you more specific examples because we're going to be talking specifically about content at the live event. So I'm going to leave that for June 18th. And then from a heart perspective, I believe it's important um, to have heart in general in business, especially for those of us that are small businesses, right? I know that my high value client is a company that is a small business that values what we do, but is also maybe in a category of being, uh, the small diverse businesses, whether it be minorities, women, all of that. That's a huge heart for me. So I know that I produce better things when I am when I'm trying to help the people that are so much more important to me than, maybe a bigger corporation. We can still help them. I still enjoy that. We still like it. The heart's not in it as much. So I believe that translates into your RFP response because you should talk about your passion and you should talk about how your passion or your mission or your vision aligns with the entity's passion, mission, vision. If you're bidding on um if you're very, let's just say you're a company that is very big on animals and you're bidding on something where they hunt a lot, there's probably going to be a little misalignment there and it's going to be hard to really talk about your mission because it's not in alignment with them. When you're in alignment, then you can talk about your mission and your passion. And I just think it comes across so much better. I know that was a long winded way to talk about that, but does that answer your question, Luis?
It does, and as we close out, once again, I just want to thank you so much
Yeah.
all the knowledge you have shared with us. A lot of it is very practical. I think a lot of it can be used by a wide range of people. I think one of the things you have kept mentioning, and I totally agree, it's not going to happen overnight. You need to play with AI, get used to playing with your computer. So if you want to learn more about how to have this 60% winning rate, we encourage you to join us on June 18th in Los Angeles at La Plaza de Cultura y Artes for a one of a kind small business experience. If you haven't registered, please register. You can also use the QR code or go to dreambignow.net, and everything that you need to know about the event will be there. And to close, I want to thank our sponsors that include Univision Los Angeles, the Port of Long Beach, McCarthy, Vermont Slauson Economic Development Corporation, the Latino Media Collaborative, the Construction Contractors Alliance, RFP Success, as well as Bank of America, who has just joined us this morning. Thank you so much, Lisa. Thanks, everyone. We're very grateful that you are here with us today.
Yes, thank you, everybody, and thanks for having me, Luis. This is great.